Second video of the day, and this time with a total different topic. Calciomercato entry and exit are now definitely closed, and we can take our calculators to understand who is the Italian team that is spending the most for their players. We have a fantastic top 6 ranking made by Tuttosport this morning, where you can see who is winning and leading that top 6 of the Italian team with the highest salary mass. We can open it immediately without any waiting and seeing that Juventus is first with 78.5 million euro net in the pockets of their own players. Some Juventini will celebrate and will tell me, Beppe, finally we're winning a ranking. It was so long time ago. Other Juventini will tell Beppe, we have a problem because it's not healthy to be the team that is spending the most on their players. And then you have a third category that are using a logic that the team that is spending the most in terms of salary for their players and coaches, even if the coach is not entering the calculation that you will see all along this video, is the team that is obliged to win. Mamma mia, I would hope so, because watching that ranking, that would mean that Juventus would, of course, win Serie A 23-24. Why are we even playing against Lazio on Saturday? They are 5th with 45 million euro net in the pockets of their players. We are first with 78 million euro net spent for the players that we have in our team. Why are we even playing? Why are we even taking time to do prediction videos? I will tell you, luckily, but also sometimes unluckily, it's not always the reality. It's not always the team that is spending the most that is winning Serie A. Not always it is the biggest factor to win a competition. Of course, it has a lot of benefits and we will come back on it. I will give you all my thoughts about it. Finishing the video also in the team that we have today, with who is the player that is earning the most, the player that is earning not the most, but at the end of that ranking, are they having actually a salary that is really reflecting their value? Do we have really, in terms of value, the team ready to compete and to win Serie A? All these answers in today's video. Maximum of like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you have a total different question that is coming up a lot, will John Elkann and Andrea Agnelli Exor sell Juventus? I send you back to the video that I recorded this morning because I went through all the details, what is right, what is wrong. You just have, after that video, to go back and watch it, and you will have all the answers to your question. Are you ready? Because we have to focus back and go back to the ranking top 6 of the teams in Calcio that are spending the most. With number 1, Juventus 78.5, 6th only for the Scudetto holders, Napoli. That if I go to the logic of a lot of supporters paying the most, means most chances to win the Scudetto, Napoli has absolutely no chance to win it. Well, last year it was more or less the same story, with Juventus spending even more. It was Napoli that won. Ragazzi, we have to go back in time. When I tell you, luckily, it's not always the case. Because if we go back in 2011, 2012, Juventus was by far not the team with the most spent in terms of salary for their players, but we were able to win it, luckily. It's true, we had the most paid net goalkeeper of Serie A, Gianluigi Buffon, with 6 million euro net, with a total of 100 million euro gross spent. In 100 million, it's more or less 55 million euro net, so lower than what we are spending today. It's more or less, let's say, 25 million euro less of what we are spending today. But Gianluigi Buffon was the exception because it's the only one that entered a special formation. The top 11 role per role with the players that were earning the most back then. Buffon in the goal, number 1 with 6 million euro net in his pocket, followed by 4 Interista, 4 Milanista and 2 Romanisti, with Kivu and Maicon on the left and the right side of that 4-man defense. 2 players in the center of defense from Milan. We are speaking about Mexes Philippe and Thiago Silva. In the middle, Flamini. Yes, you heard me well. And probably a lot of people would have forgotten about Matteo Flamini that played at Milan back then. Ragazzi, 4.5 million euro, which is 2 million more than what Meston McKennie is earning today in 23-24 at Juventus, which is 1.5 million euro more than what Manuel Locatelli is earning today at Juventus. 4.5 million euro for Matteo Flamini. Cambiasso was also there in that midfield. Cambiasso with 2 S, Esteban, the one of Inter, and not Andrea with 1 S, the one of Juventus today. And De Rossi, the later captain of Roma. On top, you had a trequartista that was Sneijder with 6 million euro, and then you had two strikers, and what strikers? Francesco Totti at 9 million euro for Zlatan Ibrahimovic. That was absolutely deserving these 9 million euro net in his pocket for a simple reason. Wherever Zlatan Ibrahimovic was going back then, he was a certainty, a guarantee to win the Scudetto. With that year's, against all odds, he lost for the very first time in his career because Juventus won it. 9 million euro is the same net as what Dusan Vlahovic is earning today. But we will come back on Dusan Vlahovic and the rest of the Bianconeri. I told you, Juventus is only one time in that special formation of top 11 highest earner because Juventus was clearly not the first team to lead that ranking. Milan, 60% more gross spent on salary than Juve with 160 million euro, followed by Inter, 145 million euro gross spend. If we are looking at Milan, they finished second that year, but Inter, that was actually the second biggest spenders on that season, they finished sixth. I told you, it's not always that you spend more that you win more. And that's the same story in the next seasons, in 12-13, 13-14, 14-15, where Juventus never was leading that ranking of biggest spenders. In 12-13, Juventus is second, catching up with Inter over Milan, still winning the Scudetto. The year after, Juventus is still winning the Scudetto with Milan, that is first in that ranking of big spenders with 88 million euro gross spend. Inter, third. In the year after, 14-15, Juventus is third, behind Roma second, Milan first. Why am I speaking about Milan? Because Milan that season, even if they spent more than everyone, they finished not third, not fourth, not fifth, they finished 10th. The year after is the first season, 15-16, where Juventus for the first time, and since then always, is leading the ranking of most spending for players and their salaries. 88.8 million euro gross spend. Milan second. That year, Milan is finishing 7th in Serie A. After the 10th position, Milan always leading that ranking of big spenders, but not able to translate it in winning the Scudetto. I will come back on that. Why it is important to look at Milan. And I will tell you immediately. Because you can't just turn the light off and on whenever you want when you have contract that you already made and you have to respect, and that sometimes are a guarantee for you to keep the players, like Napoli this year with a very low earner at Kvaratskhelia that net is earning 1.2 at the moment, Osimhen at 4.5, contract that were made before the big miracle of Napoli 22-23. They are low, and that's a guarantee for the club, but also for the players when they have big contracts and they don't want to leave. An Alexandro, for example, of Juventus, a Bonucci that had to find a solution at the end, and more and more and more. Juventus grew year after year after year from these 100 million euro gross that are 55 net. In 11-12, they grew until season 2020-21. That means the last year of the Scudetto won by Maurizio Sarri and team, to a total spent gross money of 236 million euro. Yes, you heard me well. More than double than what we were spending in 11-12. How did we arrive at having so much to spend? It's easy. When you start that first year, you come from twice being 7th in the league. You were not playing in Europe back then like we have now, not because of the field, but because of the topic, of the field topics. That time in 11-12, it was because of the field result. You had no attractivity for big players. A few exceptions like Andrea Pirlo, Stefan Lichtsteiner, but we were not speaking except of Andrea Pirlo, from Fenomeno. Fenomeno were not joining Juventus, as simple as that. Because we were not even playing Champions League, because we had no real concrete plan to win the Scudetto. That year, the stars are aligning with opening a new stadium, with a back atmosphere, with Antonio Conte and his passion and his motivation, with everything that was going well without losing a game, we win that fantastic Scudetto, opening a cycle of 9 in a row. And of course, more you were winning in Italy, more you were attractive for more important Italian players. More things were going well, more entry you had, new sponsorship. After Nike, you went with Adidas, more money for the club. You had other sponsors like Jeep that was coming, new entries. The clubs was growing financially, but also in terms of winning. Players, they were trying to notice it, they saw it. A Carlitos Tevez comes to Juve to relaunch his career, something that he would not have done in 11-12. Of course, when you have more sponsors, when you have more trophies, when you're opening cycles a la Bayern Munich, a la Lyon back then in France, the new Paris Saint-Germain, well, you have more attractivity, but also more agents that are knocking on your door saying, oh, ragazzi, I see that things are going well at Juve. Our players, they want to increase their salary. The players that you are asking for, they are asking more salary than what you were giving in 11-12. So you are growing also there, and you are obliged to agree because your ambition are growing, especially with that turn of twice being in the final of Champions League, where Juventus is thinking that they are the masters of the world, that the Champions League will arrive, and everyone wants to be there. Everyone wants really to be part of the Bianconeri, of La Vecchia Signora. Cristiano Ronaldo, ragazzi. That's why he comes to Juve, because we were that close. Unfortunately, we couldn't put that cherry on the cake. Unfortunately, our players, our manager, our staff, our managers, our presidents, the club Juventus couldn't do that last step to enter the Hall of Fame, to enter eternity, winning that trophy that we are waiting since 1996. But that doesn't mean that Juventus was a weak team. No. The reverse of it. Juventus was solid, was strong, was beautiful, was attractive. More and more European players wanted to come to Juve to show their strength. And also the players that were there were saying, if we want to stay at Juve, we want more salary. Something that happened with a lot of players. Juventus going free on the market to take more players. And we were offering them, yes, free to the other clubs, but higher salaries. We remember Rabiot, Ramsey. In 2020, you have the Ronaldo effect, 31 million euro net in his pocket, which was more or less 60 million euro gross spent by Juve. De Ligt, Matthias De Ligt, 8 million euro net. Dybala 7.3, Ramsey 7, Bonucci 6.5. From the players that I just mentioned, Juventus, for a reason or another, didn't keep any of these players. Some controversial decisions like De Ligt, like Dybala, for example. Other were more evident, but we lost money on. Juventus spoke about sustainability. And when I told you that it's impossible to become a sustainable club, turning off the light at whenever you want to, look at Milan. When I told you they were still having the biggest salary mass, but they were not winning anymore. They were waiting to kind of purge and clean the old contract to start back. And it took them so long to become back and come back in Champions League and winning the Scudetto in 21-22. Well, Juventus already started working on it. You heard the words of Arriva Bene, of Andrea Agnelli, sustainability for the first time from their mouth. Then you continue hearing them from Giuntoli, press conference. The presentation of the season by Max Allegri, sustainability, always coming back. Players plan to extend their contract, which we spoke about in the last few days. So many of them. Szczesny, Rabiot, that I spoke about in the morning video, Federico Gatti, Paul Pogba, Dusan Vlahovic. But we already started with Perin, with Del Ciglio. You stay at Juventus for longer years, but you lower your mass. That it's too important because of a lot of contracts were made before COVID and were reflecting a reality from 2021 before COVID that is not the reality anymore today. A lot of things change. We are not participating in the Champions League anymore. It was exposed that we are suffering from financial difficulties. We have to lower. Ronaldo is gone. Today we have a new player that is Dusan Vlahovic, that is the top earner of Juventus. Probably, if everything was healthy, if everything was okay, probably if we were playing in English Premier League, would have not sacrificed Paulo Dybala for Dusan Vlahovic. We would have kept both, but this was impossible. Cuadrado, we sat at the table with him. Renewal of a contract, more years, lower fixed fee. He refused. He's not at Juve anymore. So Juventus already started working on it. But you can't, from one day to another, decrease it. A work that is noticeable and clear. Because if in 2020, 2021, I told you we're spending gross 236 million euro, today we arrive at 130 million euro gross spend. Translated 78.5 net in the pockets of the player. Why is there such a difference between gross and net? You have to take a lot of things into account, and the first one is taxes. When you sign a player from Italy, not specifically Italian, but from Italy, you are paying twice what you are giving them net. That means a player like, for example, Cambiaso, that is earning 1, gross you are paying 1.8. Player like Szczesny, that is not Italian but come from Serie A, you are paying him 6 net, but the club is spending 12 million euro gross. On the other side, you have some players with il decreto crescita, players that are playing abroad for more than 2 years for the 5 first years of contract at Juventus or in an Italian club. You pay only half of the taxes, and this is, for example, the case of Paul Pogba, of, for example, a player like Rabiot. Rabiot that is earning 7 million euro net in his pocket, but the club is only paying 9 million euro gross. Okay. Now that I explained you the history, showed you that not always it's the team that is spending the most that is winning the Scudetto, a lot of time showing you that when you are reaching your peak, sometimes where things are not continuing to roll and going well, you need time to decrease and going back to the new reality that has been set in place. Let's look and give a closer look to our team today. Dusan Vlahovic, 9 million euro net in his pocket because he has a growing contract, 17.5 million euro gross spend. He's by far the most paid player of Juventus. Oh ragazzi, let's not speak about our preferences today. It didn't happen and we are all happy about it. He stayed at Juve and he's ready to show us what he has. His potential that we are all believing it. We didn't want Lukaku, we want Vlahovic. But it's not a mystery, purely financially, that he was a man that was on the market. Because Juventus, for the Serbian young 23 years old player, is spending nearly 8 million euro gross. Which is a monster bag of money for the young player that still needs to make that last step to reach top strikers. It's not a mystery. Let's go over it. We are happy. He stayed at Juve. But now we are expecting a lot from our player. Szczesny, Alexandro, 2 players that still are on pre-COVID contracts. When Juventus was earning a lot. When Juventus was doing fantastically well. Szczesny, 6 million euro. 12 million euro gross. The same for Alexandro. Alexandro is third in that ranking. Not because Juventus is suddenly thinking, speaking about sustainability, but Alexandro is a good player, let's pay. No, because these things were made prior to COVID, where things were much better and easy to today, where we were absolutely never thinking that something like COVID could have happened in our lives. Not you, not me, not Juventus, nobody. Paul Pogba at 8 million euro net, 10.5 gross, and here we open a new chapter. Is Pogba worth 8 net, 10.5 gross? Absolutely yes. He's showing it already with 1 leg on the field. Absolutely yes. Is Juve overspending for that player? No, regarding his capabilities, his strength, his skills, his image, because Pogba is Pogba. But that's where we enter in. Sometimes you are the club that is spending the most, but these players are not on the field. Paul Pogba, even at 2 million euro net last year, would have been too much because Pogba never played. It will depend on this season. He started to play 2 fractions of the game. Luckily, nothing wrong with him after that last game. He will probably be there on the bench against Lazio, but 8 million euro for a player that we are not sure, that every time that he will enter of the field, we are scared and we are fearing. If you can save on him, you will do it. And that's why the last few days I was speaking about the Paul Pogba possible in contract negotiation to lower that fix. Vlahovic at the table to lower that fix, maybe extending with one more year to go back to a more clear reality, a better reality, the new reality of Juventus. A Szczesny extending, but with less fix, because Juventus, they saw that some contracts, they need to be readapted, sustainability, and also looking more like what they are doing on the field. And that's why Nicolosi Caviglia is at 0.25, probably if he's playing a few games, will receive a contract extension, increasing. Federico Gatti only at 1 million, earning not yet enough. Fagioli is the next one in line, also at 1 million euro. These players will probably see their contract go a bit higher, like Federico Chiesa, showing that he's healthy again, hopefully, after the national team. But Federico Chiesa is showing and sending signs that he's back the player that he was. In a few months, he will be. Federico Chiesa will probably have a contract extension at more money than one is earning today because there are still margin. Touching to be more balanced with the team today, because it's true that today the team is probably not worth the 130 million euro gross that we are spending. We can save a bit, but we still have a team when we are looking that is not looking absurd in the players that we are playing if we are looking at the big part of our team. And that's why I'm saying we have the tools to compete for the Scudetto. Are we favorite? No, even if we are spending the most, but spending the most is also because of what we are carrying for the past. We are canceling it, we are working on it, a big job has been done, we have to continue. And that's why when I read Mercato names a la De Paul, Rodrigo that are linked to Juve, well, if it's for paying him a salary that is matching the one of Paredes last year, with the performances that will probably not be world class, grazie, but I will pass, because we already made mistakes in the past. I don't want to make mistakes anymore in the future, because doing these mistakes, it will not guarantee you to win Serie A. So ragazzi, let me know all your comments about that long video, much longer than I was thinking, but I went really in detail. This evening, if you are still there, Romeo Agresti on his channel in English, answering all the questions you have, so be there, put it in your agenda and subscribe to his channel. Grazie, forza, Juve.